We transformed this tiny sword from our local toy store into Tanjiro's katana from Demon Slayer. We wanted to give ourselves a challenge by changing this sword into a katana, but keeping as much of the items of the original sword. Alright, let's start analyzing the sword and see what we can use and what we can't. The first thing that comes to mind is that it's too small. The handle, which can only like hold one hand, so we're going to lengthen that a little bit. We see that the hilt, of course, doesn't have the right shape. It would be cool if it would already have the Demon Slayer shape, but tough luck. And of course we have the blade, which is too short. We also see that there is no sharp edge, which means that I cannot cut anyone with it, which is unfortunate because we do like some cutting. What is also very interesting is that they mimic the wrapping on a katana, but it's not very accurate to what we want. So we're going to buy some rope and recreate this. But for now, we're going to just cut this off and see what's underneath. If we take a closer look at the straps of EVA foam, we see that it is unpainted. So the biggest problem with EVA foam is that you have to seal it and prime it and paint it afterwards. Let's take a look if we can like separate the original sword. Okay, with the knife separated, I'm going to take off the front part, which is a perfect piece of EVA foam that we can just reshape and reglue once our final sword is finished. So we're gonna put that aside. So what I was thinking is, if we use this at the end of the sword and then just bridge in this part with a piece of EVA foam. And then of course fill it in with a fiberglass rod that connects both the tip of the sword and the handle, so that if you swing it around, it literally won't flop or won't break. Very important to note that all the edges have been glued, because sometimes when you're spreading out contact cement, you're missing out some of the edges. And if some edges aren't glued shut completely, then there might be a possibility that the EVA foam might rip apart. So sometimes it's better to be extra careful. Okay, so after gluing this down, the only thing that is new to this build is this piece here. So what we're going to do now is cut away some excess material. We're just going to draw a center line on the sword, and then we're going to first cut it away and then Dremel everything away. Now, the big problem is, because there are two pieces of foam that have different densities and different structures, it is very easy to see a difference between this piece and this piece. And once you start painting it, it will become more difficult to get the same result from those two surfaces. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover this katana in a thin piece of foam that is just one quality, and while just wrapping around it, you get a smooth surface finish. Some people also like to do this with a chrome vinyl or a chrome sticker, but because we don't have them available, we're going to paint them using our Alclad chrome paints. Just so you know, the foam is treatable with heat. So if you just want to put in more curves, you can always heat it up and then just shape it a little bit more. Remember this little piece? Well, by cutting in two slots, you can reuse it to wrap it around the blade so that you have a hilt stop on top of your sword. And this way we can use the same material that we've used before. We're going to try and make sure that we can use the other yellow part for the backside, for the stop of the blade. we've kept as many of the pieces of the original sword as possible. The yellow little parts are still recognizable, they are just shaped differently so that they fit the new aesthetic of the sword. Also, the front piece is like over here and it's like completely hidden through the new layer of foam that we've applied. Now, to make it more realistic, there's only one thing that we need to do, and that is Plastidip. Plastidip is a primer that will seal off the foam so that other paints may be applied to the sword. We're going to use Alclad for the chrome base, and we're going to use our cusp paints that are available in the shop for the other parts that don't need very detailed or chrome-tastic looks. And that's a wrap on the Tanjiro Katana build. And I'm very happy that we actually did this, because we had to find creative solutions for the tiny toy prop and try to integrate as much of that material as possible in this sword. And you don't even see or recognize any of the pieces anymore, but you know that they're in there. Other than that, I do think that it really looks like Tanjiro's sword. However, do be aware that we did include some creative choices. It's not one-on-one on the reference, because we wanted to include some of the parts of the toy. Normally, I would just start from scratch, but this is actually a really fun challenge. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. I'm Mist Fane, signing off.